Welcome back. In today's Crypto Corner, when you think about crypto, you might think about Coinbase, the largest U.S. crypto exchange that took about a decade to reach trading volumes north of $100 billion. But already that lead is under siege, and not by the likes of other centralized exchanges like the NASDAQ coming for the New York Stock Exchange, but instead decentralized exchanges that automatically let users earn fees by providing liquidity to make trades happen. Instead of a centralized exchange making fees off an order to, say, swap Bitcoin for Ether, that fee is instead distributed to liquidity providers, and everybody wins in that scenario. It's the core of what makes decentralized finance decentralized, and right now it is booming. According to data from Masari, trading volume on decentralized exchanges has exploded more than 100-fold in the last year to hit $122 billion last month. And for more on that trend, happy to bring on one of the leading projects in that space, THORChain. Their technical lead, Chad Barraford, joins us right now. And Chad, it's interesting because I wanted to start kind of 30,000 feet on the discussion of what THORChain's trying to do here, because our viewers might be familiar with the yield that they can earn from centralized crypto platforms like a BlockFi. And when I say higher yield, I do mean higher yield. We're talking 16% right now on native Bitcoin on THORChain versus about 5% on BlockFi. So question one, how is THORChain able to provide yield that's much higher? And how does it speak maybe to the benefits of decentralization?
Yeah, it's a good question. So effectively, what you can do with your capital is you can provide liquid capital into the THORChain network, right? And you're effectively buying a percentage of a pool, in a sense, like a Bitcoin RUNE pool, just say, for example. And so every time there's a swap that goes through that network, through that pool rather, you get a little bit of that money kind of left behind the pool, and that little bit of money goes into your pocket effectively. So as the trading increases and gets more adoption, the more trades that happen, the more income that the network produces, and all the income goes to you as the liquidity provider, and not just some centralized entity that has to pay hundreds and hundreds of employees and have all these kind of operational costs. All of that money gets floated back into the users themselves, into the people themselves. In addition, THORChain also has like a mint RUNE on every block. So that all gets dumped into the pools to actually increase the reward and the yield in those pools as well.
Yeah, and what's interesting, I mean, there's a lot of projects targeting DeFi right now. Uniswap might be the main one that gets attention when we talk about kind of the leader in the space. What's different, though, and I think is worth highlighting when it comes to THORChain, is instead of being built on one chain, you guys are chain agnostic, kind of pairing each chain together through a native asset token, RUNE. Talk to me about how that's different and how it really makes THORChain separate from other opportunities in DeFi.
I mean, this is key. This is a significant shift in the crypto space, right? We, as a people within the crypto, we've always kind of relied on centralized exchanges like Coinbase or Kraken or Binance's to be able to allow us to move from one blockchain to another, from Bitcoin to Ethereum, or Ethereum to Litecoin, or Litecoin to Bitcoin Cash, whatever it might be. And the ability to move between those chains completely decentralized has never really been feasible or possible before until THORChain technology that we came up with.
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to that, too, the backing of this, and this might be getting into the weeds here, but it's important for security and the way that it's been set up in node operators there. Talk to me about what that token enables when it comes to analyzing what you guys think of right now, around $40 million worth of trading bonded in the platform right now. Talk to me about what that does for security when it comes to THORChain.
Yeah, it's really important that the base asset of the network has its own asset. It can't be Bitcoin, it can't be Ethereum, it can't be Tether, it can't be any other asset. Because if you have other assets, it actually makes the network economically insecure. You need to have a token that its value derives from the network itself in order to make it viable to be a decentralized exchange. That's a really, really important concept of it.
You've also been growing quickly, but you've also tried to manage that growth by capping the amount that users can contribute to liquidity pools as of late. And you guys launched the mainnet in April, just a month ago. So talk to me about the growth you've seen and why maybe you're going that route to cap liquidity at a time where it seems like everyone would want in.
Yeah, it's a great question. So we've seen it in the DeFi space where some DeFi project launches, on day one, and by day two, there's some huge security bug or some sort of exploit, and literally $1 billion are lost. We've actually seen this in the space before, and that's not the route that obviously the community of THORChain really wants to have. So we want to have a measured approach. We want to make sure that we're being cautious, we're being careful about these things. We wanted to slowly scale up the trading volume, scale up the pool, scale up all the systems over time to ensure that there is any bugs or security issues that we need to deal with earlier on with a very small amount of liquidity at stake, and not when there's literally billions of dollars.
Yeah, on that same point, I mean, we talk about how this might be different than some of the other opportunities out there. Going with a BlockFi, of course, as we've highlighted, there are certain issues in terms of centralization that could come from that if there's a hacking or what have you. What is maybe the security piece of DeFi? How does it separate itself? Because even on your own platform, you'll warn people not to use major amounts of money just yet as you kind of work through the kinks. So, I mean, talk to me about how it's different than maybe the threats that would face a centralized exchange.
Well, yeah, so a centralized exchange is centralized, right? That's kind of the name behind it, right? So there's a single point that you can go ahead and attack and gain access to some server that may contain some private keys that steals all the funds. Now, we've seen this in the centralized crypto exchange systems before. We've seen it many times, right? Like dozens and dozens of times. But making a decentralized exchange secure is very different because you're relying not on a single entity to secure those funds, but a network of individuals using open protocols and open source code to ensure that those assets are actually secure, right? So THORChain uses something called threshold signatures as a way to secure those funds. And so on single chain ChaosNet, for example, that's over $600 million, $700 million that's in that system, secured between 36 nodes who are completely anonymous. Nobody can operate in a way that can steal funds or manipulate funds or any of these kind of things. That's a first we've seen in crypto's like history. That's a significant milestone. At least in my view, that's true, that we've hit, and we're looking to see how that moves forward in the future.
Yeah, and in full disclosure here, to test all these things out, you know, I had to see if the hype was real on the platform and THORChain was working, and to do so, I had to use RUNE to add liquidity here in the liquidity pool. But when you look at risks too in this space, I mean, we talk a lot about how it would be hard if entities out there, government entities, wanted to shut down Bitcoin or anything that was centralized. Obviously, would be easier. When it comes to threats in the DeFi space, though, you're not necessarily dealing with know your customer the same way that a Coinbase might. I mean, there are concerns, I suppose, around DeFi. So how do you look at maybe how it fits into the paradigm right now when it comes to regulation?
Well, regulation is a very interesting topic. I'm not personally a lawyer, so I can't state from a legal perspective all these things. I think the understanding with my understanding this time is that we're completely within the confines of the legal system. But then again, like I am actually not running or operating the THORChain network itself. It is owned by the community as a whole. It's not owned by any individual. I have no ability to control the system whatsoever personally. But this, I think in the context, I think we're doing a good job in that sense.
Yeah, and I guess lastly, just too, in terms of where it fits in and where we're at in this cycle. I mean, you guys are catching a lot of attention for what you've been able to do so far. But what do you see, maybe the growth of this space, the size of the pool rising to? What are the goals when you look at this project, maybe by the end of the year, and how quickly DeFi has been growing?
Oh yeah, DeFi has been growing exponentially so far. It's been pretty insane to watch. I do expect as time goes on, those caps you were referring to will be kind of raised, and eventually they'll just be removed entirely once we have enough time to prove the network's reliability, security, and those kinds of things. So hopefully by the end of the year, we're going to see much more liquidity into the network. Every time the caps are raised by the community of the THORChain network, those pools are filled within literally seconds and sometimes minutes in some cases. So there's definitely a high demand for this kind of thing, but we just want to make sure we raise those caps as a community in a very secure way.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about how fast the growth may have been if you didn't have those in place. But it's been fascinating to watch and catching a lot of attention. Happy to have you on here to talk a little bit about it. Keep us posted on things there. Chad Barraford, THORChain Technical Lead. Thanks again for taking the time. Appreciate it.